Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tommy the Techie, and today we are going to be doing our first AWS project. So we have some pretty straightforward directions here. We need to create a T2 micro instance with the OS of our choice, as long as it's in the free tier option. In the user data field, use a script that updates all packages, installs NGINX, and starts the service. Verify that the NGINX web server downloaded and installed through the public IP. To get started, there are some prerequisites that you need to fill. First off, you need to have your own AWS account, and you need to be logged in as a user with a minimum of the EC2 full access permissions. I'm logged in as an admin. I have full administrative privileges in this account through this user. So let's go ahead and get started. As you can see, I've got EC2 already in my recently visited services here, but we're going to click on this services button in the top left just to show you the menu that it brings up. And we will select EC2 from here. Okay. This dashboard is taking a minute to come up. And here is the EC2 dashboard. This gives you some pretty high-level information of what EC2 instances you're running and which ones that you just have made in your region. EC2 instances are region-specific, so you can see here I'm in North Virginia, the US East 1 region. So all of these three instances that I have already spun up are only in this region. So you can see I have three of them here already. If we change this to US East 2, give it a second to change over. Okay, so you can see we're at the same location, the instances option in the EC2 service, but we are on the US East 2 region. So you can see none of the three EC2 instances that I have spun up in US East 1. So let's go back to US East 1. I don't want to be making EC2 instances all over the place. Let's keep track of all of them in one region. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard. Okay. So from this dashboard, we want to create an instance. In this case, AWS calls it launching an instance. So we have a big launch instance button from here we could click on. Or you may have noticed while we were on the instances page, this same button was there in the top right corner. So let's go ahead and just click launch instance. Launch instance. Okay, and that brings us to the launch an instance page. So we need to give the server a name. We'll go ahead and call this EC2 project. Apologies for the lag. AWS is a little slow at the moment. All right, so we get to pick any operating system that we want to for this project. So we're going to choose Ubuntu. And 2204 is free tier eligible, but let's see if there's any other options. Okay, so 20.04 is also free tier eligible. Let's go ahead and use that one. So you can see here I'm making my selections out of the Amazon machine image selections. These are pre-built images of each of these operating systems that are already to go. They're already pre-configured. Amazon has their own Linux distribution. Here you can see it's called just simply Amazon Linux. The instance type is just referring to the RAM, the CPU, basically all the virtual hardware that's going to be running on this instance. The project directions specify a T2 micro instance is supposed to be used, so we'll go ahead and just leave that there. Key pair login. So we are going to require a key pair here, so we're going to go ahead and create a new one. And we have to give this a name as well. EC2. Oh. EC2 project key pair. Okay, so we're going to click on create key pair. And I have a folder specifically set aside to save my key pairs in. Typically, by default, this would just go to your downloads folder. So I'm going to save that there. Okay. We're also going to create a security group for this. A security group is what determines what traffic is going to be allowed to your EC2 instance. So we're going to leave allow SSH traffic from checkbox pre-selected, but we're going to change this anywhere because it's not very secure to my IP. So only my public IP address is going to be able to SSH in from that port, from port 22. Okay, we're also going to check allow HTTP traffic from the internet. We're going to allow that because we need to verify through the public IP that NGINX downloaded and installed and launched. So we're going to leave the configure storage untouched, leave it on all the defaults. But we need to click on advanced details here and scroll all the way to the bottom to get to the user data. This is where we need to enter the information, enter the script that will run the updates of this operating system, install NGINX, start the service. Okay, so I don't have a script pre-configured for this, so let's just go ahead and write this real quick. I'm going to do the shebang bin bash. This is a user data script to install NGINX. Okay, so the first thing we need to do upon any first launch of a Linux system is we need to run updates. It's specified in our project instructions, but that is a rule of thumb to follow whenever you are spinning up any kind of Linux distribution. Okay, so sudo apt, because that is the package manager for Ubuntu, update, and we're going to do attack Y. Just to say yes, we need to have everything automated to just say yes, because if we don't, it'll fail. this needs to be totally automated. So sudo apt upgrade to upgrade any of the packages that are identified as upgradable when we run update. Next, we need to install NGINX and start the service. So that will be sudo apt install NGINX. We have to do tag Y on this as well because it's going to ask, are you sure? And it needs to be automated, yes. And then sudo system control NGINX start. So we're just telling the system controller to start the NGINX service. User data has already been base 64 encoded. I'm going to leave that unchecked. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch our instance. Okay, so this just takes a few minutes normally. Go ahead and click on this details drop-down. And that is not really specific to us. So let's go ahead and click in this link that it provided to us to take us to the instance. Okay, and you can see the instance state is running. I'm going to click on this checkbox, bring up the details about this instance. So if everything went according to plan, we are going to have the updates run on this. The NGINX web server should have already been installed, and the service should already have been started. So this should be reachable by entering this public IP address into the URL here. And this page isn't working. http:// And there you go. Welcome to NGINX. We can see that our script must have been a success, because if it was not, this welcome to NGINX page would not have loaded for us. So there we go. We have completed all of our required tasks to fulfill this project. Thank you for watching this entire video. I hope you had as much fun watching it as I had making it. Bye-bye. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Tommy the Techie, and today we are going to be expanding upon the previous EC2 project that we've done. So we are going to largely do the same thing, except this time we're going to do it through the AWS CLI. So a quick little review of what our project requirements are. We need to create a T2 micro EC2 instance with the OS of your choice. Just make sure that it's free tier. In the user data field, use a script that updates all packages, installs NGINX, and starts the service. Verify that the instance has the NGINX web server downloaded and installed through the public IP. Okay. So to begin, I'm already SSH'd into a newly created EC2. The only thing I've done on this has been to run the updates. So in order for me to communicate with the AWS account, I would need to configure AWS on this EC2 instance that I'm already SSH'd into. I would need to configure that with the permissions of a user that is associated with my AWS account. Okay, so before we do that, let's go ahead and create the user. Since we're going to be launching an EC2 instance, we won't give this new user carte blanche access to the account. We will just give them EC2 access to the account. So we need to create a user, so that means we're going to the IAM, Identity Access Management. I'm going to click on this service. It's taking just a minute here. Okay, before I create this user, I want to point out that we are no longer in the North Virginia or the US East 1 region. We are now global. So IAM is a global service. So that means any user that you create has access to any region, any availability zone. They work globally. Okay, so let's go ahead and first we'll create a user group. And we will give this group EC2 full access. So you can see I have an admins group already that has full access, but we don't want that. So we'll click on create group. And we will name this group EC2 admins. We are not going to add any users to this group yet. We are going to be creating a new user. Attach permission policies. So these are a list of AWS managed policies. We'll just search for EC2, hit enter, and we will select the checkbox on this first option, Amazon EC2 full access. And we are going to hit create group down here at the bottom. Okay, so the group has been created, EC2 admins. Okay, so now let's go over to our users. We are going to create a user and then add them to that EC2 admins group. Okay. So we need to give our user a name. We are going to call it EC2 boss because they have EC2 full access. We are going to create an IAM user. We're going to give them access to the AWS Management Console just because that's pretty standard. We will use a custom password. We're not going to show that. User must create password. Must create a new password next time, and we're going to uncheck that. If you are creating programmatic access through access keys or service-specified credentials for AWS Code Commit or Amazon key spaces, you can generate them after you create this IAM user. So that's important because remember I was saying earlier that we are going to need to have the permissions of this user to be able to create this EC2 instance, and we need to configure them here. So we're going to hit next. We're going to say never to this. We are going to add them to the EC2 admins group that we just created. We're going to hit next. We're going to review. EC2 boss has a custom password. They are a member of the EC2 admins group, which grants them EC2 full access permissions. So we're going to go ahead and create this user. We are creating EC2 boss. I'll go ahead and download the CSV file containing the login credentials. And you'll see here that we have console sign in. And I'm not going to put that into key pairs. I'm going to just put that right on my desktop. Okay. So we will return to users list. And we are going to select EC2 boss. And then we are going to click on this security credentials page. And right here, access keys. We are going to need to create access keys because you see that we don't have any here. These are the keys that we are going to use to configure this instance that we're SSH'd into to have the permissions of EC2 boss. So we're going to hit create access key. We plan to use this for the command line interface. We're going to say we understand. Digital tag value is optional. We are not going to put one or use one. Create access key. Okay, so this is just like generating a personal access token in GitHub, or just like generating an SSH key with keygen. These are going to be used together. We need both parts of this access key and secret access key, to properly configure the SSH instance. So let's go ahead and copy these somewhere safe. If you notice up here, it says if you lose or forget your secret access key, you cannot retrieve it. Instead, create a new access key. You cannot retrieve it because this is the only time that you're going to be able to see this access key. So we'll go ahead and let's open up Notepad here. Okay, so I'm copying the access key, and I'm going to save it here. Now, since these are specific to me, I'm going to be deleting this key as well as this EC2 boss IAM user that we just created, because we are not supposed to be sharing these keys with anybody. So I'll copy the secret access key. And of course you see it here, but we are going to delete it after the filming of this video. And we're also going to download the CSV file. And we'll just let it download right to my desktop. Okay. We'll click away from here. And we're done. we have created an access key for EC2 boss. Okay. Now that we have that, let's go back to our SSH EC2 instance that we've already got created. So, the AWS CLI, if I go ahead and type in AWS TAC version, I'm going to get this AWS not found. But it can be installed with, and then it gives us the actual installation here. The reason why I selected an Ubuntu distro is because it did not have AWS CLI installed. I wanted to be able to show you how to install it. So we're going to say sudo apt install AWS. Invalid operation minstall. Unable to locate package AWS. Okay. We are going to just search for this. Install AWS CLI Ubuntu. Installing or updating the latest version of the AWS CLI. Sounds like exactly what we're looking for. So we'll go ahead and click on this. Okay, we are going to select the Linux instructions, and lucky for us, we have a command that's going to complete the entire process. So we're just going to copy this. Right into here. Command unzip not found. Can be installed with sudo apt install unzip. Okay, so we'll do that. Sudo apt install unzip. I do not know what's going on with that, so we'll just clear it out all the way. Sudo apt install unzip. It's installing. Sometimes this takes just a little bit, but we just have to be patient and let it finish. This is taking a moment, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here and get started. Okay, so the unzip is finished installing. So we'll go back and copy this again. Get it back in our clipboard. And now you can see it is unzipping this file. And it didn't run it, but it gave us the command to run sudo AWS install. We'll just go ahead and hit that. You can now run user local bin AWS TAC version. So let's clear this. Remember, when we did a AWS version earlier, we got a command not found. But now we can see that we have AWS CLI version 2.11.12 installed. Okay, great. Fantastic. Now we need to configure this AWS CLI installation with the access key and secret access key that we created for EC2 boss. So the way we do that is AWS configure. Nice and straightforward. It asks us for the key, the access key. Provide that. It asks for the secret access key, and we will provide that as well. It asks for the default region. I'm going to use US East 1, and I'm not going to put anything for the default output format. And now we have our AWS CLI configured. Clear this up. And we can run the AWS configure list command, and we can see that we have our access key and our secret access key selected. Okay, great. Now we need to create our EC2 instance with the user data filled out to install and launch NGINX. So luckily for us, I already looked this up prior to starting this video. If you go to this URL, docs.amazon.com/AWS/SEC2/latest/user guide/user-data.html. It's a mouthful. But about halfway down the page, you'll see user data and the AWS CLI. So we want to run an instance, but we need to specify all of the attributes that we want to run. And you can see right here that we have an example. Let's go ahead and just copy this example right into our notepad. And we'll bring this way down. Actually, this is not the correct example I want to copy. It is the one below that when we are going to be specifying the user data file with a script that we're going to author. So let's copy this example to our notepad. Okay, so to launch the instance, we're going to be running the AWS EC2 run instances command. And here are all the values that we need to specify. So we need the image ID, which is just going to be, we'll do Ubuntu again. The count is how many are we going to do? We'll do 1. The instance type, the key pair to use, the subnet ID, the security group to use, and in our case, the user data file to use. Okay, so rather than creating all new key pair and security group and all that for this example, we'll just go ahead and use some already existing ones. So we need an AMI ID. We need an instance type. Well, we know we're going to select T2 micro for that. So we need a key pair that we're going to use. We need a subnet we're going to use. And we need a security group we're going to use. Okay. And you by no means need to write this out in advance like this. I just am doing it to make it a little easier. Okay, so let's specify what AMI ID we're going to use. So to do that, I'm going to, let's go back to the EC2 dashboard. So to find out which one we want to use, let's just go ahead and click Launch Instance, Now, I'm not going to be actually launching it from here, but I am going to be using it to determine what the AMI ID is, and I'll also go to the VPC section to find a subnet ID. Okay. So we want to use Ubuntu, a free tier eligible version of Ubuntu. So we are going to use Ubuntu 20.04. And you can see here, after that's selected, it provides us with the with the AMI ID. So we'll copy that. And we'll put this right here. Okay, key pair. Let's select a key pair. We can go ahead and use this EC2 project key pair that we used. Okay, so that's just EC2 project key pair. Subnet ID. Well, first let's do security groups because we're already on the appropriate service. Okay, so in our last video we created Launch Wizard 7. This has the, click on it just to show you. This has the inbound rules to allow all ping traffic, to allow SSH from my IP address only, and also HTTP traffic, which is important. We're going to need that HTTP traffic to verify that the NGINX web server has launched. So let's go ahead and copy this security group ID. Put that right here. Okay, so let's go to VPC to grab a subnet ID. And I'm going to use a subnet from my default VPC. And I'm going to use a public one. Just wait for this to boot up. Or not boot up, but load up. Okay. So let's click on subnets. And I already had one checkmarked from earlier. We'll just go ahead and use that one. And we will copy this subnet ID and put it right here. Okay, so now we've got all the information that, or almost all the information that we are going to need. So let's go ahead and start subbing out these defaults in the example for our actual values here. So AMI ID, we're going to replace that with the actual AMI ID. Count 1 we'll leave the same. Instance type, we need to change to t2.micro. The key pair name, we are substituting with EC2 project key pair. The subnet ID, we'll go ahead and replace this, and also the security group ID. Okay, so you'll see the only thing that we haven't changed is the user data file my_script.txt. And that's fine. We can just create that script and give it that name. So let's go ahead and do that now. A refresher on what this script needs to be able to do. It needs to update all packages, install NGINX, start the NGINX service. Okay, so the PWD, we're in the home Ubuntu directory for the Ubuntu user. Okay, so let's go ahead, use Vim, and my_script.txt. Okay, Vim my_script.txt. Okay, so let's go into insert mode. Start off with a shebang, bin bash. We'll go ahead and just give a little description of what this is for. It is user data file to install and launch NGINX. Okay, so first we need to update all packages. So any command that we're going to put in here that would possibly expect user input, we are going to use the TAC-Y option to just specify an automatic yes. So sudo update, sudo apt update, because we have to call the package manager, TAC-Y. We're going to follow that up with a sudo upgrade. Oh, goodness, forgot the apt again. Sudo apt upgrade TAC-Y. Then we're going to sudo apt install NGINX, also TAC-Y. And now we also need to enable it. So sudo system control, system control NGINX start. Okay, so those 4 commands, that's all we need. Escape, write quit. We see that we have my_script.txt. Okay, now we're ready to go ahead and copy all of this into our command line and see if it works. This doesn't appear to be finished. Well, let's go back to EC2 instances and see if we have anything new. go ahead and click on this instances. And there you go. You can see that we have a new instance with no name, but it does have an instance ID. Okay. Okay, so now it's time to test to see if this is publicly accessible. I'm actually going to go back because I think that said it was still initializing. We're just going to pause this video until this initializing says 2 out of 2 checks passed. Okay, it's been a few more minutes, but we're still on initializing. Let's go ahead, though, and see if we can access what we want. Okay, so what we're testing for right now is, let's go back here. I just copied the public IP address. So if I can reach an NGINX landing page or index page, that means that our script and our deployment of an EC2 instance was a success. So remember, we chose a security group that allowed for inbound traffic from anywhere on HTTP. So we're going to use HTTP 3.239.219.3. And there you have it. Welcome to NGINX. Okay, so that was a little bit more involved than the previous video that we made for launching an EC2 instance with NGINX in the user data file. But I hope that this was an informative video for you. It certainly was an informative experience for me researching it and putting this all together. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you had as much fun watching it as I had making it. Bye-bye. Hello, and welcome to the final portion of this video. Now we are going to use that EC2 instance that we created earlier with the user data to create an image so we can keep reusing this over and over again. So you can see I've already got the create image command pulled up, AWS EC2 create image. And then we have the instance ID, and then we're going to name it, and then we're going to provide a brief description. So I'm going to copy and paste this whole command, but we are going to need to substitute the actual instance ID for the instance ID of this new NGINX EC2 instance. This is the one that we had created earlier. Okay. Gonna copy this. I'm having trouble copying and pasting, so let me just exit and then come back to it. Okay, there we go. And we'll go ahead and grab this. Okay. And we are provided with an image ID. I'm going to go ahead and save this off screen. Okay, so let's check our Amazon machine images. I already had that pulled up, so let's do a refresh. And there you go. You can see my server. We have successfully created this AMI based off of the EC2 instance that we had created earlier in the video. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Bye-bye. Hello. It seems that I ended my last portion of this video a bit prematurely. I was supposed to use this newly created Amazon machine image to launch a new instance and then verify the user data successfully took by trying to access the NGINX server through the browser using the public IP address. Okay, so we got our AMI created. So we're going to use the AWS run instances command, and then we are going to specify the AMI ID that we just created. So AWS EC2 run instances, and then we need to specify the image ID. And that is going to be this right here. So we'll copy this. And you can see quite a bit of output here. But this was a success. Okay, so let's try to verify this. Let's go back to instances. We have a pending instance here, which is a good sign. I see that this instance type did not take the T2 micro that I had set aside, or not set aside, but that I had used when I was creating this. Okay, not to worry. We can go ahead and specify everything we need to. So to do that, we will run the same commands that we ran initially to launch the last EC2 instance, but we'll change the Ubuntu AMI ID that I used then, and we'll use this one right here in its place. I had that all saved in a notepad. I'm opening this up off screen. Okay, so I've got this copied to my clipboard. Well, you know what? Let's substitute it now before I paste it in there. So let's go ahead and get this copied now. Oh. Oh, you know what? That was almost a mistake. We don't want that instance ID. We're trying to copy an AMI ID. Okay. That was almost a big waste of time. Okay. Okay, so a little rundown again of what this is going to be doing. So we're going to run the AWS EC2 run instances. The image ID, we are using the image that we created off of the last EC2 instance that we launched earlier. We're only doing this once. The instance type is a T2 micro. The key pair is EC2 project key pair. The subnet ID is thus, and same with the security group. And we're still going to specify the user data file with the script that we wrote earlier. So let's go ahead, hit enter, error parsing, user data unable to load parm file. Let's find out why. Okay. Oh. I think I know what went wrong here. Let's just verify. Okay, we'll terminate this instance because we don't need it. Let's do this. Curl ifconfig.me. This will just show me my public IP address, 52.205.255.166. Okay, so that's this meeting demo over here. Okay. I think I ran that earlier, possibly from this instance. I'll deselect this. And we'll go ahead and start this one right here. And we can stop the new NGINX because it does not need to be running, especially since we already got the image that we need. Okay, so we'll connect to this one. Okay, there we go. Here is the my_script.txt file. The reason why we couldn't execute the command in the last server was because it was trying to reference this file that wasn't there. So let's go ahead and try that command again. An error occurred when calling the run instance operation. AWS was not able to validate the provided access credentials. Okay. I'm going to pull this off screen for a moment. Okay, sorry about that. Had a little hiccup. I had deleted the EC2 boss user that I created earlier, so I had to recreate them and then reconfigure the AWS CLI to be able to run these commands. So let's try this again. Okay. Let's see if we have a new instance creating. Okay, so we got one initializing down here. And we got a public IP address here. For this last one, we didn't have to wait until it was done initializing. We were able to, while it was still in that state, attempt to view this. And okay. This Welcome to NGINX index page is letting us know that the user data script successfully ran. And that lets us know that the information that we used to create our image successfully was used in creating our image. So there you go. Ran into a little hiccup there, but we got around it. We have just created an Amazon machine image, a custom one, that we can now use as many times as we need to deploy as many instances as we need to. Thanks for watching this video all the way through to the end. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Bye-bye.